Thank you. Hey, thanks.
What can I get you?
I'm not sure.
For relaxing times, make it Suntory time.
I'll have a vodka tonic. Thanks. So what are you doing here?
A couple of things. Taking a break from my wife, forgetting my son's birthday, and getting paid $2 million to endorse a whiskey when I could be doing a play somewhere.
Oh.
But the good news is the whiskey works. What are you doing?
My husband's a photographer, so he's here working, and I wasn't doing anything, so I came along, and we have some friends that live here.
How long have you been married?
Oh, thank you. 2 years?
25 long ones.
You're probably just having a midlife crisis. Did you buy a Porsche yet?
You know, I was thinking about buying a Porsche.
In 25 years. It's impressive.
Well, you figure you sleep 1/3 of your life. That knocks off 8 years of marriage right there. So you're down to 16 and change, and you're just a teenager at marriage. You can drive it, but there's still the occasional accident.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'm not sure yet, actually. I just graduated last spring.
What did you study?
Philosophy.
Yeah, there's a good buck in that racket.
Yeah. Mom. So far, it's pro bono.
Well, I'm sure you'll figure out the angles.
Yeah. I hope your Porsche works out. Cheers to that, huh?
Cheers to that. Kanpai.
Disillusionment and discontent was alive and well before the rise of smartphones and AI. The 2003 Sofia Coppola film, Lost in Translation, is an exploration of experience. The unexpected friendship between Bill Murray's Bob and Scarlett Johansson's Charlotte is accidental, but it's rooted in shared experiences that will only ever happen once. The demand for analog human experience may rise again, says Kento Morita, as AI-created slop increasingly seeps into our culture. Those wishing for high-fidelity experiences will seek them out, not from a screen, but from a stage. This week on Next in Queue, we discuss the rise of AI in entertainment, the value of authenticity in a digital age, the importance of live experiences, navigating the world of performance and failure, the intersection of sports and performance, and lessons from crafting a joke every day for a year. Let's get to it. For his boomerang appearance, Kento is next in queue. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Rob. Thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm great. I'm talking to you. Let's get people reacquainted. Not everyone will have listened to the last time we had you on the show. You are an LLM product designer, you're an actor, you're a comedian, you're a creator. You're like this renaissance man doing all kinds of things. And the last time we spoke, you were getting ready for the release of Rise of the Ronin, in which you lent your likeness and your voice to. I would love to hear kind of what your expectations were for that release, and then what was the reality like?
Yeah, so I've been a voice actor for since 2011, and this was like my first ever gig that's covered under SAG, um, a real marquee brand that people might recognize. And it was really interesting. At the same time I worked on this, I was at Google working on LLMs and AI products. So it was this situation where my likeness was being digitized, and I had a lot of thoughts about what does that mean? Like, what does that mean for myself as an actor? Um, because when you go on set, they're really on a tight schedule. They have 8 hours with you, and they can't just hire you in increments of 30 minutes. They either need to hire you, I believe, in increments of 4 hours. So if they go over even a little bit, your day rate just shoots up to 150%. So they're really on a tight schedule. So I recorded for 2 days, and it's this, I get 3 tries at every line at most. We're just going. And sometimes, honestly, I would be like, I think I could do it a little bit better. And they're like, you know what? I think we got it. And we just keep on going. Um, with LLMs and AI and generative AI, what they could do is take enough of my voice and likeness and say they see a line that wasn't delivered quite right. And they could use an LLM to deep fake my voice and likeness and avoid paying me for another 4 hours of my time. And that's something that they could very well do. Um, SAG has been in talks with all these studios to get a draft up of AI protections of actors. So as long as the project is sanctioned by SAG, it's looking pretty reasonable. But if it's non-union, it's a wild west world out there. Like, they could just record you for 2 hours and then have you say anything, from anything heinous to like selling products that you don't believe in, and they can make it say and do anything using your likeness. So it's a really scary time that requires us to be very cautious about who we license our likeness to. I'm simultaneously working on AI that supports those kind of endeavors, as well as being a potential victim of these endeavors. So it was a really interesting project from that standpoint too.
Yeah, I did an episode with Luke Jameson last year, and we talked about voice cloning technology. The intro actually was our own voices cloned,
Mm,
doing the intro. And there is this sense of, particularly for people that have a podcast, right?
yeah,
Or are actors and their likeness is readily available, their voice is readily available out on the internet, that it feels a little bit like the cat's already out of the bag for us. And that we certainly are in danger of this also falls into like the greater security and customer experience space. Like, voice prints were a way for you to use biometrics to authenticate yourself.
yeah,
that was used in a lot of financial institutions. And voice prints now are essentially worthless from a
Yeah,
biometric standpoint because it's so
absolutely.
easy to clone.
Yeah. Um, it's 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 looking like people need to reevaluate what the actual value they're providing through these mediums. Um, if it's a voice that is just talking about topical news items, that might not be the most valuable thing. Whereas if you're talking specifically about your experience as a human being who has lived through the world and you cultivate a point of view that's unique to you, I think that's a little bit more safe. I think I think there is a bit of a reckoning of how to still provide value. Ironically, you know, I'm in New York City right now, and there's these Skechers ads that are obviously AI generated models, and they have a bunch of graffiti on them, being like, "Screw AI, like this is slop." It's like, and I get it. It just looks like these kind of airbrushed models. Um, the ironic thing is that they are modeled off of what we consider conventionally attractive. And so the more conventionally attractive you are, the more likely you are going to be accused of being AI.
Yeah.
So to kind of prove that you're not using AI, you need to hire somebody that looks unique and maybe a little bit less conventional, which I think is fine. But it's interesting to see um, this like conventional attractiveness being. I mean, they say like face symmetry is attractive. Literally, face symmetry is easier on the model to deploy, right? Because you could just
Yeah.
copy and paste the right and left side. So to look different on the right and the left side increases the amount of compute necessary to generate your face. So it's almost like we're probably going to see some sort of way companies are going to try to prove that it's not AI. Um, Showing the work, for instance, behind the scenes shots. But also it's always a rat's race. Like I just saw a behind the scenes compilation of these fake K-pop people getting their makeup done and everything, but it's all AI too, you
Oh,
know?
jeez.
So like it's and also like the amount of slop that's out there that does not pass as anything real are being shared anyway.
Yeah.
So it's I think like at a certain point we're gonna start to realize some sort of like a feeling of emptiness in the consumption of this slop. And I really hope people start to kind of recognize that and then start to see, oh, I need to go see live shows or I need to go see something real. Something about this podcast just feels a little bit better than the other one. Maybe it's because it's just real people. Um, my naive hope is that that is actually something that people will start to look for. But putting on like my kind of cynical brain, I feel like it's going to be positioned almost like vinyl or classic cars. Like the real enthusiasts who want the most high fidelity, they're going to seek out analog real experiences. But 99% of the content out there is probably going to become slop. That's kind of depressing, but also that's kind of what we've seen through other mediums too. So that's kind of where my mind's at.
Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that we see just we'll talk about the movie industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sundance was created as a way to bring attention to stories that otherwise wouldn't get the attention.
Mm-hmm.
Bring that up just because Robert Redford has
Yeah.
recently passed, and that was a project that he poured his heart and soul into to get attention on stories that he felt like really deserved attention, but weren't part of the system, if you will. And I think we see lesser stories get way more money pumped into them and
Yeah.
get more views. And there's an appetite for that among the general populace. And that's why you see IFC and Sundance as kind of these smaller players in that world, because those, what a lot of people would call indie films, just they're not as engaging to the general audience, but to those who are seeking that higher fidelity, if you will, they get really excited about it.
Yeah. And that having been said, I do think the kind of MBA led projections model thinking is pretty pervasive. And what I'm trying to get at is that if you look at the quality of output from LLMs in 2020, for instance, versus now, you see the line that projects upward. I think MBAs and business people kind of look at that and see a dotted line that continues ever upward. I don't agree with that. I honestly think what we've achieved with LLMs is we're able to take training data that's available up until 2020. And now the LLMs are getting really good at replicating content that is up to this point. But so by definition, it does a pretty good job of hitting the mark in terms of the tastes that people have today. But tastes change. And when those tastes change, we're inevitably required to create content that is brand new. And there is, by definition, less data available on those pieces of content that fulfill those new tastes. So I think the quality will go down a little bit with respect to the new taste.
Yeah.
And then LLMs are going to gather more data on the new taste and the new style and the new aesthetic, and the quality will go back up again. So my feeling is that it's going to be like this wave of quality where tastes are developed, quality goes down, the LLM catches up on those new trends, quality goes up again, tastes move forward, and it's just going to be this back and forth. And I think we're just seeing the first uptick in the waves, and that's why people are so quick to assume that that uptick is still going to keep on going up. And I just don't see that happening. So my feeling as an artist is to always try to understand what the new taste is and then create that new taste. And inevitably that means that I will be ingested into these models. But by the time that happens, I'll be working on the new thing. So I think that's really, really important for us as artists to be always looking at that. The biggest worry that I have is because these big platform players like YouTube and Meta, Instagram are the de facto content platforms where people want to be successful. They could manufacture taste of what is successful, and they could incentivize content creators to create content that is easier to create on their platform. So that is something that I think all creators should be worried about. Like, are you successfully creating content that is actually at the avant-garde of your expression, or did you just merely fulfill the algorithmic whims of this company? I think that's something that people should be really aware of, because what one company thinks should be popular is not going to match up with what everybody wants, and it's just not going to happen that way. So all that is to say that I think it's really important for every artist to be interacting with real people in an analog way, just to make sure they have a pulse on what's actually interesting for people.
I feel like you just painted LLMs as every middle-aged dad who's just trying to figure out, oh yeah, I know these phrases that are that my kids are using, and by the time I figured it out, they've moved on to new phrases that I don't understand. But
Yeah.
let's talk about analog experiences, because this is something that you've really leaned into. So tell me about what you've been doing for the last year or so that's analog.
Yeah. This year I got to do a play called Akira Kurosawa Explains His Movies in Yogurt and with Live and Active Cultures at the Woolly Mammoth Theater in DC. It is a very long title, but not a word is too much there. It is a crazy play by Julia Izumi, who's a genius. And it is truly an experience that, of course, it could be adapted to film, but as it stands, it is truly an experience that needs to be experienced in person. There was this one lady that came up to us after the show and was like, your character was behind us and there were things happening on stage and there were all these screens flying in, and like I couldn't watch the whole thing at once. I was like missing things. And she was like, I didn't really like that. And I was like, that's the point, The point is for you to be missing things. Like life. Like film is a medium where the director gets to choose exactly what the audience sees. There's no missing anything. Like everything that's in frame, the director wanted you to see. But in theater, it's all happening all at once. And for that reason, the amount of attention that people are giving to what's happening is more intense in a way that only theater could do. And it is a very analog experience. For an hour and a half, the audience, the actors, everybody in that space, the stage managers, the lights, everything, we're all one community and one tribe, and that's experiencing one thing. And I think that is a very profound experience. We're all sharing a space, and I think now more than ever, with all these digital algorithms kind of siloing us into our ideological echo chambers, it's really important for us to have experiences where you're sitting around a bunch of strangers, the only commonality being that you got a ticket to the show, and then you experience the same thing at the same time. And I think there's something very profound about that. So that I got to do. Then I've been obsessed with clowning. Clowning, like
real clowning, not just clowning around, but we're talking about actually being a clown.
Yeah, and I mean clowning around is part of that for sure. But yeah, I've been studying under teachers that have been taught by Goyer. He's a master clown in France. and it's all about engaging the audience, um, trying to see what they're feeling and creating content and creating engagement with the audience right in front of you. And um, it's really truly like it needs to be live. It needs to be in front of a real audience. And then the third thing that I just started is mascotting for the New York Islanders. And
Returning to your roots.
yeah. I was a mascot for NYU years ago when I was there. And to me, mascotting is clown too. It's a masked clown. And I think sports is another form of theater. We're all in one stadium at the same time, all focused on one event, one game that's being played. And I think it's one of the more successful, at least commercially, forms of theater in the United States. So it makes sense that it is one of the most lucrative acting gigs that I've ever gotten. They figured out a way to make a communal experience very popular with everyone. But again, like I read another article, I think it was a New Yorker, saying that sports and in just enjoying sports is becoming prohibitively expensive in this country. The amount of like pay-per-view packages that you need to get, cable and all this kind of stuff, it just adds up to like something like $2,000 a year for an average person to just consume sports. And that's just not tenable. Yeah, and I don't think I don't think that's really healthy for us to not be able to have access to analog experiences. I think that's really important for us.
So I love this idea of sports as a performance because it is, but I don't think we always think of it in that way. And we don't always think of ourselves as an audience having an experience, but as an avid Chiefs fan, an avid KU basketball fan, I
Yeah,
can attest to the emotional experience of a game can be very much like the emotional experience that I would get in a theater seeing a play or an orchestral performance or an opera or anything like that. There's an emotional experience that comes with that.
absolutely. And sports is so fascinating because you're so afraid, but you're also looking forward to failure. Anything could happen. Like an injury could happen. The other team might just fumble a play. And everything's on the line. And that sort of feeling of, oh no, I don't know what's gonna happen. That's so important to sports. But what I think is really threatening sports right now is sports betting. I think it's and the moment you start betting on sports, there's always going to be people who are trying to fix the sport. And the moment you try to present improv and then actually script it, people could tell and people could feel that something's off. And I think there are some exposés happening about, I think, a soccer league where some people are taking money to fix some games. And the moment there's a big enough market for betting, there's always going to be a market for fixing. And I honestly think, apart from the whole idea of like, I have a lot of thoughts around gambling in general, but like, as a person who loves theater, I think sports betting is threatening the fundamentals of what makes sport really, really exciting and engaging to watch. Um, like the sense of betrayal you could get after like following a team, spending $2,000 to follow a team and cheer them on, and then you realize that partway through the season, that free kick was missed on purpose. That's crushing. That destroys any credibility that sports have. So I think it's dangerous. I think it's a real threat.
I think we're in the middle of a time where we're going to have to relearn a lot of lessons that were already learned, right? The Black
Yeah.
Sox scandal
Yeah,
is
exactly.
now over 100 years old, right? We've already seen at least one NBA player get kicked out of the league because of some betting that was going on
Yeah.
related to him, and now that sports betting is not only pervasive but actually sanctioned by the leagues, it's going to be difficult to sort out. And I think you're absolutely right. But I want to actually come back to something that you touched on outside of this, and that was this aspect of failure.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I know about live performance, I have not been on stage in a really long time in a theatrical performance, but I have been on many stages for those types of performances.
Yeah.
One of the things that I know is that you are, every person there is part of a team trying to go through this process of delivering lines and hitting marks to create and to weave this tapestry that is a story to engage the audience a certain way. But mistakes happen throughout that. And I'm wondering, number one, in this recent run that you did you experience any of those on-stage mistakes? What was that like? What was the internal dialogue going on in your head? And how did you go about trying to resolve that?
Yeah. There were some mistakes. There was one particular incident where all the characters get on stage. We line up as if to start a dance number, and it's because we are. And then I kind of strike a pose to kind of like indicate something's happening, and then nothing happens. The music that's supposed to play isn't playing. It's just silence. And I could just see in the eyes of my fellow performers, we need to do some creative problem solving right now. I knew that the only thing that needs to happen for the story's sake is that I steal a hat from one of the characters. So we just kind of like started to like form this like mob that's like waving their hands in the slow, ominous manner. And we just surround this character, and then I steal the hat, and then I just leave. And it wasn't quite just silence. There was this ominous, like, doom sound. Like, it was bizarre. Like, a complete tone shift from what it's supposed to be. And I took the hat away, and then I just kind of scurried off stage, making very intentional moves as if it's supposed to be this way. And the audience afterwards, we were just like, did he notice anything? And they were like, no. Oh yeah, that silent scene was kind of cool. They were like, the whole play, part of the plot line is about silent movies going the way, and talkies becoming more and more a thing. And they thought it was a metaphor for the silent dance number. And they were like, yeah, it makes total sense. I think one of the most exhilarating parts of that is because we spent a month creating ensemble with the other actors. We know each other's body language. We know how we react. And when I kind of like just stepped forward and started to do this like interpretive dance, they knew like I'm trying to solve something, and they followed suit like very quickly. And we were all on the same page without talking to each other. We were just in our head, mind melded. And that's a beautiful moment. And I am very proud of that moment. It's like one of my favorite moments of the 2 months I was there doing the show. And that only happens in a live performance with humans. I think if that was like LLM generated, it would just be another piece of noise that people throw away, and no, like that was actually something new that happened. And the audience was part of it. And that is the only audience that will ever see that version of the show. And there's something very special about that. And yeah, it's of all the performances that I've done, like I think we did like 28 performances. That is one of the clearest memories I have. Like I know exactly where I was standing and what I was doing, and yeah.
It is fascinating to me how much more we as performers, and this isn't just theater related, but how much more we are proud of those moments where we just narrowly avoided disaster.
Yeah.
And we're able to right the ship and be successful. The last time that you and I talked, you mentioned something to the effect of nobody remembers Apollo 14.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was very successful. Like Sam
Yeah.
Shepard landed on the moon. He hit a couple of golf balls. Like it was a big deal, but they didn't make a movie about Apollo 14. Apollo 13, Tom Hanks, Houston, we have a problem, right? That's what grips us as people, is this standing on the precipice of disaster and somehow getting past it.
Yeah. And you're mentioning Captain Sully.
Also Tom Hanks.
Yeah. No, he's I think like that's like Tom Hanks, credit to him, he knows how to tell these very human stories very well. And I think the movies that he's in that's been really successful are stories of like redemption, failure turning to success, or narrowly avoiding failure. And it grips us as people. I think this idea that this Captain Sully has logged thousands of hours of flights, it's great safety record, just knows what to do. And when he needed to step up, he was able to because he was so prepared. And I think just human to human, I think somewhere we all aspire to that, is like this expertise and knowledge of the craft where things go wrong and you're like, I got this. And I think that's heroic, that's what we want. Yeah, just this decisive moment where you've been living your entire life up until that moment and you just know what to do. I think that's wonderful.
I am going to see if we can actually replicate this on the show in a very low-key way. But in order to do this, first we need to do some background. So you recently, you've wrapped this up, but you spent an entire year doing a joke every day, weekdays, 5 days a
Yeah.
week, prepping a joke based off of current events. So
Hmm.
first of all, I'd love to hear more about that and kind of what you learned from that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, so every weekday, Monday through Friday, I just looked at the news and I would try to come up with like a weekend update SNL style joke. And I did it for 1 year, and it was like 166 jokes or something. And yeah, it's for one, it's like as much as we see the news cycle happening 24/7, it's not 24/7. Like it's just like
To be clear, this was last year that you
yeah.
did this.
And I'm like,
This year might be a little bit different.
yeah, this year, and you start to recognize like there's like some empty news items. Like I think the word that they use is pseudo event, um, where somebody just makes up something that's quote unquote significant. Like what was it? I think it was like Kim Kardashian wearing uh what's her name?
I know what you're talking about, the dress.
Yeah, Death of a Salesman writer's wife, Marilyn Monroe.
I love that that's how we got there.
That's how I remember her. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Who was that one obscure person? Oh, yes. It
Yeah.
was
It
the
speaks
wife
to
of the writer of Death of a Salesman.
it speaks to my patriarchal biases that I only remember her as a wife. My bad. But anyway, yeah, it's just like she wore it for 5 minutes, and then now it's like a news item, and it's just like, who cares? Like
Right.
they want us to care. Like that's the whole point of that news item. So you start to kind of weed out these news items that are just like it's just not significant, and nobody cares. But yeah, and also just trying to squeeze a joke out of like a day that just feels like you just can't find anything that's just sparking something in your head was really hard, but also very rewarding. Like some days I will just start, I'm like at 9 p.m. and I need to write a joke in 3 hours to make sure I hit the deadline, and that's just like pulling teeth, and you're like, my God, this is rough. And yeah, and the best jokes tended to be things that related to Japanese events and Japanese identity, which was surprising. Like I thought I was just writing good jokes regardless of the topic, but I think the fact that I am Japanese allow me to like get deeper into the topic in a way that just resonated with people. They seemed to be like, you know what, this guy talking about this, I like it. I don't know if that meant it was funnier, but like, yeah, the one joke that I perform on stage from the 166 that I wrote is about Japanese events. The joke was last year, two Japanese movies, Godzilla -1 and The Boy and the Heron, won Oscars, making up for Oppenheimer destroying two cities last century. And
I already knew the punchline because I had seen it, and it still cracks me up.
It does really well. And
It's dark.
yeah,
but
the
it's
audiences
funny.
are like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, it's a good joke.
Yeah, that's one of those where you go, okay, it's clearly not too soon. We can do that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I loved that this was a project that you did. So now I'm going to provide a little background, and then we'll go for the challenge. So
Sweet.
we are roughly a month away from Halloween when
Mhm.
when this episode is going to air. Now, I don't live there any longer, but for about 15 years, I lived in St. Louis. And it was when my kids were growing up, and we did Halloween, trick-or-treating every year. And St. Louis has this really interesting, unique tradition that I absolutely love on Halloween. And instead of just going up and saying trick or treat and then getting candy, more often than not, the people giving out the candy at their house will ask the kids for a joke.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so most of the kids will like have a joke that they'll probably, share like 50 or 60 times
Oh, that's
throughout
awesome.
the afternoon, evening, right? And this was one of the things that I really loved. Like I wanted to come up with a pretty decent joke to help my
Yeah.
kids if they couldn't come up with anything. And I'm a punny guy. I'm not funny, but I am punny.
Mhm.
And so usually whatever I came up with would involve a pun. But here's my challenge to you,
Yeah.
given all of this context, for any of the St. Louisans who
Yeah.
happen to be listening to this episode and they've got kids and they
Sure.
could use a really good joke that is kid friendly, potentially Halloween themed.
Mhm.
What can you come up with on the spot? I feel like I need like a little like Jeopardy clock theme music going, but I'm gonna let that marinate.
Yeah. I know that St. Louis has bagels that are cut in the weirdest way.
This is the trivia that Kento brings out about St. Louis.
So
The way bagels get cut.
they get cut like in slivers, like an avocado slice would be, right?
Not always, but there
Not
is
always.
that as possible, yes.
But one thought is just like, are your Kit Kats cut St. Louis style? which is like it, it's a visual joke, and then it's like cut in the weirdest way. That's one idea. The other one that I came to my mind is that the kid will be like, which would be funnier? And the kid's like, sir, are there any staples in this chocolate? And the guy's like, no, but there's Office Depot. And it's so this is how my process works. I'm just like, okay,
I love it.
Halloween
We're
candy.
workshopping right here on the show.
Halloween candy, St. Louis, arches, bagels being cut. Arches, okay. Maybe a McDonald reference might be cool. Like a Happy Meal reference. But it's only half an arch, maybe, because it's just one arch, so
Right.
it's like half a Happy Meal. Like that's what I'm like just like thinking of. Yeah, I think the staple one. I don't know. Like, I think
pretty dark.
I think the scary thing is that it's razor blades, but like it's again like I want to like also always reference like reality. Like I believe there's like 0 cases of that ever happening in the U.S. Like it's just like this like
Yeah, it was like this big scare thing that basically never happened.
Just people came up with this like idea and just people ran with it. Like Marilyn Manson, like getting rid of his ribs. But
it's a great example of the Mandela effect, right? We collectively get this false memory about something that happened.
Yeah, trick or treat.
By the way, if you don't know,
yeah,
just a couple of more St. Louis kind of factoids that you can use. These are food related. So,
okay.
St. Louis is famous for 2 Italian food derivatives. One of them is delicious. It's called toasted ravioli. And it was created when someone accidentally dropped a ravioli in a fryer. So they're kind of like fried, breaded ravioli.
So it's not even toasted.
They are delicious. No, they're not. They're called toasted ravioli.
Okay.
And then there's St. Louis style pizza, which is distinctive because it has a cracker thin crust and it uses a cheese product called Provel cheese, which I am personally not a fan of. Can't stand it. Dislike it very, very, very much. But St. Louisans love it. Like they go crazy for it.
Is it a thin crust pizza?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Thin and crispy. Absolutely.
Then like the kid could be like, are you serving St. Louis style candy or Chicago style?
I love it.
And then
yeah,
if it's the fun size, it's like St. Louis. And then if it's a big bar, it's like Chicago.
Okay, so here's my challenge to everyone who has made it this far in the podcast. Would love for you to put in the comments your Halloween joke for the St. Louis kids out there. If you've got something really good, throw it out there. I would love to hear a great joke. And even better, if a kid comes to your house and tells that joke, man, that would just be the best thing in the world.
What's a joke that your kids would use?
Oh gosh, I don't. My kids are like adults now, so it's been so long since we actually went trick or treating with the kids.
Yeah.
One year, I recall coming up with something that I thought was pretty clever, and my wife indulged me and probably reaffirmed that I was very clever in that moment. But it probably just was average at best, but it felt good at the time. I don't remember. Like it's been so long. I don't have a clue. Like,
okay.
I don't remember my jokes. They're always just like in the moment, maybe a little punny. I also have this really uncanny ability to basically do what Weird Al does and craft lyrics to existing songs. The problem is I'm also tone deaf. So when I sing, it's always out of key.
Oh my God.
But I love just on the fly creating new lyrics based off of whatever is happening in a moment to whatever song pops into my head. It just sounds awful.
This is like I was way too old by the time COVID hit to be trick or treating, but like there was a thought that I had of like, I think being TP'd right now is actually nice.
Yes, that's a win.
Yeah,
I mean, go get all the toilet paper off the tree outside right now.
So it depends on like maybe like a few years ago, it could have been like not trick or treat, but it's like treat or treat, and it's just like a toilet paper roll, and the kid's like, "Do you want this?" I know you do. And then like do like a maybe they'll say treat for treat instead of trick or treat, and then they will rip off like a little square of toilet paper for like a candy exchange, and that would be the joke.
Well, for all of you time travelers, when you go back to Halloween of 2020, just take your toilet paper with you. You'll have an amazing time.
Or when we get the measles epidemic.
Oh, it's coming. If you have not done so already, connect with Kento on LinkedIn for sure, but also check out his YouTube channel. You will see, you can check out his jokes. So if you want to catch up on past events that he was making fun of, there are tons and tons of jokes, one-man show performances, all kinds of fun little videos. If you want to learn some really interesting Japanese words that you should probably not say, Instagram, like just follow him on all the places.
Thank you.
You'll learn a lot of things. Kento, thanks for joining the show again.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks so much.
Next in Queue is produced by me, Rob Dwyer. Theme music is courtesy of Big Red Horse. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with at least one person. Word of mouth is the best way for people to discover new content. And thanks for listening.